무대에서 토 한번 해야지. 무대에서 토 한번 해야지.
Hi, I'm Siri, so you know you can always learn something new from me, and in today's video we will be talking about Everglow's recent video talking about the psychology behind why female K-pop stans hate pretty female idols. I'm not in any way suggesting that that video is incomplete or needs further explanation. Rather, I just kind of wanted to add to that conversation since I think it's an interesting one. Think of her video as the necessary coursework, and this is kind of like a supplementary video, supplementary material for if you enjoy the coursework. You know, if you enjoy K-pop and psychology and how they interact, this is for you. So this is not strictly about the relationship between female idols and female stans. It's more about just females in the industry, both on the side of fans and on the side of idols alike. So this is just going to be inclusive of everything to do with that dynamic, if that makes sense. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about is the idea of tend and befriend. If you are unaware what this is, basically when there's a threat to someone's family, to someone's society at large, women tend to try and build up their social circle. They will try to bolster their social connections as sort of a barrier between them and whatever might be threatening their lives, their happiness, whatever. Whereas men will generally try to attack something head on and oftentimes literally attack something. Women will try to take preventative measures that are more related to existing socially, I guess you could say, which is interesting when you think about girl groups. I mean, part of the reason why this is very prevalent in K-pop is the fact that Korea is more collectivistic than places like America, where I'm from. Korea is a very collectivistic society, so there is a lot of emphasis on existing together with other people, and that's great, but I do think there is a tend and befriend element to it, just because there is there's such a prevalence of girl groups in the industry. You know, you just look at like the mama nominations, everyone's talking about how like the female rookies are like the lifeblood of the industry, whereas the male rookies, everyone's like, I don't know who they are. So there's that. There's also something I found interesting when I was first getting into KTube. I would watch a video about supposedly girl groups, and people would include female soloists. So like, people do want to talk about female soloists, but they will do it under the umbrella of girl groups. Like, the umbrella of girl groups is all inclusive. There's just more emphasis on that. People, when idols are training, when they're trainees, they think about, you know, I want to fit this position and do this, and this, and we will even see it when, I don't want to say when members go solo, because it's not the same thing as in the West, where, you know, you have the Zayn's, the Camilas, the Jessis, where they leave and go solo. And that's a very like prevalent topic when talking to those groups, even before anyone breaks off, I guess, from the group. That's not really a thing in Korea. You know, they can go solo, but it's not really going solo so much as having a solo project. Like, they are still part of the group most of the time. They are still their main priority is still the group. You know, you see this in soloists like Nayeon, for example. And I also want to talk about, speaking of Nayeon, female idols really comfort each other in a way that I find really endearing. You'll see when Nayeon was doing her solo promotions, Dahyun came on the music shows in order to MC and be there for her. And you see a similar thing with, I'm sorry, I don't know their names, but one of the members of Meki was, I think, getting ready to film her solo debut music video, and one of the other members came onto the set in order to comfort her, surprise her, and I don't know their names. I'm sorry. I think one of them is Doyeon. She's from Iowa. I think they were both from Iowa. But I'm not very educated on Iowa or Wiki, so sorry. But you'll see that these people will get really comforted by the people that they have. These are people that have been in their lives for a long ass time, and there is no bitterness in that. There is a genuine connection, and I kind of love that. I also wanted to talk about how there is a difference between female and male emphasis on resources. Females will look for someone with more resources when they are looking for someone to quote unquote mate with. And so, like, we want someone who will be able to provide for us, whereas with males, it's less, their decisions are based on that less. For example, just like an example in my life, when I was looking for colleges, I was really looking for something that could get me ahead in life. I think that's a big step that not all of us take, but it's a big step that a lot of us take. Whereas you look at something like TXT's Taehyun's decision to go with Big Hit was based on how far away the company building was, which I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's just kind of funny that you see the difference between the female priorities and the male priorities. I just thought that is it's not a huge point that I wanted to make. I just think it's funny. I also wanted to talk about subtyping. This kind of goes back to Everglow Up's video. Um, so there's an issue with pretty idols. Subtyping is when a group member does not fit a stereotype and people tend to think of them as an exception to the rule rather than changing the stereotype. So, for example, people will look at female scientists differently than they will look at females. So, if there's a woman, you might assume she's sensitive and compassionate, not ambitious. She is a scientist, she is seen as exceptions. So the female scientist could be seen as a subtype that is intelligent, determined, knowledgeable, and goal-oriented. And that's kind of a way that people view certain idols. If they view an idol as pretty, we think of them as there's often a privilege associated with that allows people to view certain idols through a more complimentary gaze, I guess you could say. But then at the same time, I think there's a difference with people given the visual position. I think when people are actually considered, like when their looks actually are when their looks are actually credited or acknowledged, I guess you could say, with an official position, people start to view them differently. It's not so much that they are pretty, it's that they are, they fit the beauty standards, whether you agree or not, and usually people will kind of subtype them in a way that's different than just pretty idols. They will become thought of as very pretty but not really talented, and the only reason they're in the group is because they're pretty, which is, I'm sure you could argue that for different groups. There might be an idol out there who's a visual who just isn't talented. I'm not gonna say that because I just I don't like the idea of equating I don't know. there's also the idea of selectivity. Um, Women tend to be more selective than men when it comes to sexual partners because sex is riskier for women. Women tend to be approached more, and there are conversations of traditional versus non-traditional dating. In traditional dating, women are more selective, and non-traditional men are more selective. So it is a there are several ways to approach the topic, but being the one approached makes us more selective. And the thing is, in a lot of cultures, being seen as promiscuous can hurt a woman's reputation more than it would hurt a man's, and I do think that that is true of South Korea. But yeah, like women are more selective and they might not always acknowledge when a man has called them out, I guess you could say. That's not really the wording I want, but like when take IU. People felt very weird when IU was making music with Chungha. They were like, "Oh my God, Jungkook's crush. Oh my God!" And I think just in general, they were referring to IU as Jungkook's crush and not IU. You know, the amazing soloist. Um, and I think that IU kind of couldn't respond to that. Like it was more dangerous for her to respond to it than for the men to say it. Because there was also, I love Pio, I love him, but he made a weird joke when he was enlisting about like IU coming to perform for him, and maybe it wasn't weird because they know each other at least. I don't know if they're friends, but it was a little I, I don't know. It wasn't necessarily in great taste, and a woman could not say that. If IU said the same thing about them, she would be, oh my God, she would get so much hate. But because they're men, they get to say it, and everything's fine. And it's just kind of like, why? And the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about is stereotype threat. This is something I wanted to talk about regarding female K-pop idols for a while because there was that interview where Ryujin said, where she was talking about how people will look at Itzy and say, wow, they dance really well for a girl group. And it's always bothered me. It's just like it bothered her. You know, why can't you just say, wow, they dance really well? Like, why is it for a girl group, you know? And stereotype threat is when a concern about confirming negative beliefs may hold a group back in some kind of performance, I guess you could say. So, for example, I am a woman. If I am asked to acknowledge the fact that I am a woman before I take a math test, I am more likely to do more poorly than I would had I not. So what I mean is like, you know how you have your Scantron and your all this stuff you have to fill out. Like if they ask me my gender before I take a math test, I'm going to be thinking about how, oh no, people are going to think I'm not going to do well because I'm a girl, and then I would perform less, I wouldn't perform as well because I'd be kind of stuck in that mind, not necessarily stuck in that mindset, but it would be on my mind the idea that people don't expect me to do well at this. And I really think that that is what's happening, what happened with Itzy. Um, it's so annoying because they're such good dancers just in general, but because they are women, they are treated differently, and it's really frustrating. Um, those are kind of like the only things I really wanted to talk about. I know it's a short video, unless it's not. I don't. I. How long have I been recording? How long? Okay, I guess it was 20 minutes. Okay. Um, uh, this is just these are just things that I've noticed. Um, but let me know what you've noticed if you have any thoughts. I it's such a hard topic to talk about, because it is so complicated and so dicey. But yeah, let me know what you think. Subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff. I would love to have you around for my next upload. Yeah, I'll see you soon, hopefully, I guess. Bye.